Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 26 of Zipline, the official Zipper Interactive podcast. I'm Chris Roper.
I'm Jeremy Dunham, and wow, it's been a while. It's been 3 weeks.
Yep.
Today we're joined by game director Seth Luisi. Hi, Seth.
Hello.
Howdy. Let's, before we talk to Seth again, let's get to the news with the ZCap.
So obviously the big news this week is that we have another patch coming out for MAG 2.10. Comes out next week, and I think it's going to be a good one. We're going to have some fixes for issues that are out there, but we'll also be adding some new functionality to the game. And this is specifically in regards to the game queues, and we think that fans are going to like this fix slash update slash addition.
Yeah, we'll just do a little tease and say that it should help with queue times.
Yes.
That's the goal there.
But we'll have the exact details on how it works next week prior to the patch going live, so look for that. We will definitely keep you updated.
Right. And now, speaking of MAG, like we did at launch for Escalation, we're having a holiday sale right now. The price has been slashed by 20%, so now in the U.S. store, you can get it for $7.99, down from $9.99. The deal lasts until December 7th, so if you've kind of been, should I get it, should I not? Now is the time to do so.
That's right. One other last MAG note, as some of you may know, people who purchased the MAG starter kit in its first few hours of availability when it came out were missing the PSN avatars as part of the package. This was actually fixed very quickly, just less than a few hours. But that didn't help the people who didn't get the avatars in the beginning. But the PlayStation Store customer service people are on it, and they will help you if you are missing those starter kit avatars. Just go to the official MAG blog, look for the post that we put up about a week and a half ago. It says MAG Starter Kit Customer Service Help is the title. It's still on the front page. You'll be able to find it, and it'll explain the steps you need to take to get that remedied.
So with that, Seth, how you been doing since the last time you were on the show?
Wow, busy. Yeah.
Very busy.
No, a lot going on in the world of SOCOM.
Yeah, we're trying to get stuff finished for the holidays so everybody can actually take off for a day or two and go,
Yeah, I think a day or two.
Yeah, a day or two of being the operative word.
It's been 4 months since Seth's been on the show, since August.
Yep.
And what's interesting about your office is it seems that every week that goes by, you have a new monitor in it. You have more screens in there than the Minority Report.
Yeah, I like to keep myself connected.
Seriously, we should take a picture of this because there's how many? You have like 5 or 6 screens in there.
Counting computer monitors.
Like the Merovingian.
Okay, 5 counting the computer monitors, yeah. Is that too many?
So if you wanted to know good Christmas gifts for Seth, he's always looking for a TV.
Yeah. With that, let's get right into some MAG questions here. The first one comes from RS Petrie. He wants to know that now that we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of the game, what are the major lessons that have been learned from creating MAG, and how will Zipper apply this to games in the future?
Wow. This is a hard question in the fact that we've learned so much from MAG and the consumer response and from the community and from just running the game and releasing the game. So to whittle it down to a few items is actually very difficult. We're always looking at how we can improve the game we released and what we did release. And, I think some of the major lessons are some of the things we're still trying to address. How the queue system works, how we can get people into the game quickly, how we can make sure games are launching. We knew that was going to be a challenge up front, just based on the fact that we have this system where we queue up players and launch you into the game, which we felt was really important for the game to launch 256-player games. At the same time, it's that double-edged sword where now you need a bunch of people before the game will launch. Otherwise, games won't launch. But, we could easily change the thresholds down, but then you have these huge maps with very few players on it. So, looking at that and how we can address and make the game more flexible to accommodate smaller games as well as larger games, and giving more choice to the player as to what types of games they want to play in, and more flexibility so that they're not having to sit there and wait for a specific game to launch and run, was one of the biggest issues, one of the major learnings, as well as there's a lot that we learned from the game types. I think we rolled into Escalation, just the fact that we have the 3 factions playing in a single map and not being so focused on attacker defender. That's not to say that we don't like attacker defender. We actually think it works really well for certain game types. But since we had only attacker defender at launch, I think that that was something that we learned was probably not the best for the product as well, to have all the game types revolving around that core mechanic.
Variety being key,
as well as just the overall game experience you you get with the number of maps and having to defend certain maps. And, again, there's so much that we've learned. And so much, the thing I'm really happy with MAG is that we were able to address a lot of those things with 2.0 and additional DLC. And, I think we pushed the amount of changes and support and how much we're addressing the learnings from the initial release much further than I've seen probably any other title other than some of the MMOs on, in the PC world. So we feel very lucky that we were able to learn so much from the release and address those issues post-release. And man, if looking down the line, if we were to make another MAG, we have a lot of things that we would do differently. A lot of things we would keep the same.
I'm sure a lot of people who are interested in both MAG and SOCOM, this isn't on the sheet, I'm riffing, would be curious if we've taken any lessons from MAG that you've mentioned, or maybe some that you haven't, and actually applied that to SOCOM, our very next game. Have we managed to take any of those lessons and apply it directly to that?
Absolutely. So there's definitely things we learned from MAG and the way some of the systems work, some of the things that did work in MAG, some of the things that didn't work in MAG that we are applying to SOCOM going forward. Can't get into the specifics, unfortunately, but
because it's multiplayer oriented, we're not talking about that
obviously,
yet.
MAG's a multiplayer game, so most of that stuff is relevant to the multiplayer portion of SOCOM.
Plimco Pilgrim, and I apologize for the last time I said his name. I called him Pimco, though as Clan really seems to like to call him Pimco. Anyway, he wants to know, as MAG's game director, do you have any plans that can shed light on what will be done to increase the overall player counts in MAG? Interesting question, given what's coming up.
Yes, we do. Well, we have this patch going out next week that will have a change in it that we feel will address some of the issues with having the lower player counts. So while it doesn't necessarily address the player counts themselves, it certainly makes getting into the game with fewer numbers of people online simultaneously a better process and something that takes less time and is more friendly to the user. So we wanted to try to get that fix out there as quickly as possible, address the main issues that we're having with having lower player counts now compared to at launch. The other, we are working on another update that should be coming later this year that we hope will allow new players to experience MAG in a new way. So giving, again, extending the reach out to new people that aren't familiar with MAG and being able to get them to experience it.
P. Bruds wants to know, what do you think MAG, or where do you think MAG is in its life cycle?
Where do I think MAG is in its life cycle? Well, that's, with online games, that's always a difficult one to address. I certainly think that with 2.0, it's kind of reached a level of maturity. Certainly at launch, I would describe it as adolescence, leading up to or the teen years, if you will. Sort of. We learned a lot from the release and a lot of things we addressed with 2.0. But certainly now, we see it as a much more mature title, something that can stand on its own, as a very compelling game, and has a lot more depth to it, and a lot more for players to experience over the long term. So that's probably where I see it as its life cycle. It's hard to see, where things are going to go from here. Again, I know we sound like a broken record, but it always depends on the response that we get from the community. It's the level of feedback we get from the community, and the ongoing support really depends on, how engaged the consumers are with the title.
Yeah, and we've made no secret about it, is that it's definitely at a stage now where it's totally dependent on how much support we get from the fans that determines how much further we can take the game.
Yes.
Knorm1418 wants to know if we can expect anything special on MAG's 1-year anniversary, which is upcoming on January 26th.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Maybe. We're looking into possibilities, but... we don't know what that means yet.
Yes.
It could just be a thank you on the blog.
Yeah, much more likely you'll see a community, blog post or something than something in the game. But we'll look into it. We'll want to do something nice for it. We'll make a cupcake.
We're definitely going to mention it.
Yeah. Flagata and several other people want to know, when will the current and still remaining freezing problems be solved in MAG? The past couple of patches cleared some of these problems, but there are still people that are having some occasional freezing problems.
Well, as we announced earlier, there is a patch coming out next week, 2.10. It will be addressing some of these issues. It's always difficult to address everything. Online games are a very complex beast between the server, the client, and all the interactions of all these hundreds of people playing in the game at the same time, and actually thousands of people when you consider just all the people connected to the server online. So it is something that it can be difficult to track some of these issues down, but certainly the team here is doing everything possible to track them down and address them.
The other thing to remember is that what makes the game freeze for you isn't necessarily the thing that made it freeze for another person. And that's actually why we have that thread that we posted, I want to say about 2 weeks ago, asking if you are having freezing problems, to tell us exactly what your story is so that we can recreate that here and then hopefully apply that to a future update. Believe it or not, we actually have more SOCOM questions and MAG questions this week, which should make the SOCOM fans happy. And the first one comes from Cigarman1, and he wants to know on a scale of 1 to 10, and I think this is a great question, by the way. Very simple. 10 being a completed and shipped game, and 1 being the start of development. Where would you put SOCOM 4 right now?
Well, I think we're definitely between 8 and 9, so we're getting very close to the end. With that being said, obviously we haven't really discussed SOCOM very much for the last, 4 months or so. If not longer than that with the community. So, there's a lot of catching up that we need to do with the community and with with consumers at large to show where we are now. So, we're getting close to the end, but that is not to say that what you've seen so far is representative of where we are at this point, because it's not.
Right. I'm actually really excited to get to that point when we start talking about the game. You can tell that everyone here is. We're getting anxious, and just seeing the progress of the game from last month to now, huge difference.
Yes.
Huge difference. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Devil Dog 66, in a paraphrased manner, basically wants to know: will Sony and Zipper continue to do SOCOMs after SOCOM 4, no matter what, or does it depend on how well SOCOM 4 does at retail? Do sales matter to whether or not we'll eventually see SOCOM 5 or whatever else might come from the universe?
So I wouldn't say that sales alone matter, but certainly reception to the title on a broader scale matter, as well as, what it is that the team might come up with to provide a compelling experience in the future. So it's a very difficult question to answer. I don't think it's as cut and dry as that, no matter what, there will be another SOCOM title. There's a lot of factors that go into deciding what goes into development and what does not.
Kevin89 wants to know what the most difficult aspect of making a SOCOM game that's supposed to appeal to both a broader audience and get new players in while also appearing to the longtime fans. The kind of people that are listening to the show right now, we get a lot of these questions on the message boards, and they're saying, we want this feature. Is this going to be in the game? Don't kind of, dumb it down for somebody that hasn't been playing the game yet to try to bring in new players. Where is that line drawn, and how do you kind of balance those?
Well, when we're looking at a SOCOM game, we certainly do not want to move away from the core tenets of what the title is. So what makes that game a game? And with SOCOM, it's always been about the team and your teammates and having team online play. It's like really at the core of the title. And there's many other things with authenticity and a lot of other items that go along with supporting that as well. Don't get me wrong; that's not the only thing that makes a SOCOM game.
And I think that a big one is supporting smart play, which is a lot of these things that people talk about. All comes down to they want to be rewarded for playing the game well and not just running around and shooting the first guy they see.
Yes. But, we want to make a title that is going to appeal to as many people as possible. Does that mean we're dumbing the game down and making it something for the less intelligent or, less skilled audience? I don't necessarily think so. I think that in many ways are kind of discrediting a lot of people out there. I certainly think that people don't necessarily want a watered-down gaming experience in general. If you look at the top games out there right now, Red Dead Revolver, even COD, and a lot of the other titles, Assassin's Creed, those are very complex games. There's a lot to those titles. They're not simple, watered-down gaming experiences. So we see this a lot. Oh, they're watering it down. They're going to make it really easy for the more mainstream audience. That is not necessarily what the mainstream audience wants, and not necessarily what we're going to deliver.
And that's the key difference. And I know we've discussed this